We go. I think. Is that it? Now I can't see myself for
So is
some
anyone
reason.
else going to? These two are going to Radiohead tomorrow evening.
Oh wow.
I'm going to be there.
Are you?
I'm going to be there.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah. Not the O2.
Oh wow.
The thing is, when the tickets went on sale, was it January or something? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy a ticket because I thought, well, it's the O2 Centre. I hate the O2.
The acoustics are supposed to
It's a horrible venue.
not the best, but
So I'm not going to go.
the atmosphere must be good though.
And then when I knew Warren was coming, I was like, I've got to accompany Warren to see Radiohead. It'll be a.
I will appreciate
it'll
the
be a
escort,
spiritual
the
journey.
male escort.
I think that's a really good reason, Tarek. That's a great reason. Because I looked on Craigslist the other day. The cheapest I saw was 75 quid a ticket. But I just spent 125 quid a ticket for the Beach Boys. I took my youngest to the Beach
Nice.
Boys. Just just like a nostalgic sort of, you got to do it like the Beatles sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely fantastic. I have to say. 60 songs they played. Sorry,
60.
because they just ran from
Wow.
one to the other. Well, of course, in
And
those
those
days
songs are
they were
shorter.
only 1.5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's 2-minute songs, so it's
But,
not. It's not
louder
around
than half an
Okay.
hour.
Before I go on, there's this great mystery I'd like for you guys to help me to solve. Where does 60 quid come from? What is quid?
Do you know, I
don't
thought about that the
understand.
other day and I don't know. I don't know.
There's a phrase quids in.
It's one from
Yeah.
Wikipedia, Warren. I bet if you plug it into Wikipedia, I bet it'll tell you
That's
the
no
answer.
fun.
But no,
I hear you can learn some things on the internet,
it's
YouTube and things
It's
like
just one of
that.
those things that we, it's like a buck. Why is it a buck? Can you tell me why it's a buck?
Actually, yeah.
There you go.
So back
There
in
you
the
go.
day, they used to deal in pelts. So a buck is,
It's buck
buck
skin.
skin. Exactly.
Right.
So wow, this is fancy, Elliot. You got that going right now? So is it recording?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so I guess I'll get that from you later. But everybody, welcome. We are in a home in London, and I'm not from London. I'm from somewhere really far away, and I've been doing this crazy European trip to kind of experience what's out there in the world. And Europe, there's so many countries just nestled real comfortably, snuggling next to each other. And
About the same size as California.
And the crazy thing is, there's different language and culture and food, and it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And several of the cities I've stopped in, I've given a workshop. But I feel like this one, it's the last one. I'm really gonna, give it my all, and hopefully everybody here takes something away. Hopefully there's something of value for everybody here. So there's kind of an overview, I guess, of what I'm going to do tonight. And the first thing is I'm going to kind of share a little bit my musical journey, my story. And then we're going to get somewhere into the musical philosophy that I kind of believe in, how to learn music and how to do music. And the third thing I'm going to do is a demonstration. I don't know if any of you guys have watched the previous streams, but the third part is kind of the wild card. So it makes every place different, because you'll see when I get to it. But the part 4 is when I'm going to do a little bit more concrete teaching. So that's kind of going to be our trajectory for the evening. And I guess I'll just get started. And you'll see me scribble some things eventually on the wall behind me. Hopefully not on the window shades, that would be very bad.
Don't want to go down there.
But okay, so my name's Warren. I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I really fell in love with music from right early on. And I started on piano, but I quickly just gave it up because I didn't like reading music. It just was the most difficult thing for me, and it was so slow, and I felt like, I can hear what's going on. Why don't I just kind of try to mimic it? And it wasn't pleasant when I would play songs for my piano teacher, and she would say, oh, you're missing this note and this note, you should read and read and read, and I was just like, no, I don't like it. And so I would quit. I'd get real upset during lessons. I thought, this is no fun. I was a fool, because piano is amazing. I love the instrument piano. But somehow, of course, music, it found its way back into my life, or maybe it you know, I kind of fell into it again. But I eventually joined this thing called the San Francisco Boys Chorus. And if you can imagine me just talking like this, you know, it was before my voice changed, and I did this whole thing for, I'd say, 7 years, where we would sing for 49er games and Giants games and the mayor, and sing at churches and do Christmas concerts and spring concerts, fun stuff like that. I sing a lot of jazz stuff, folk stuff, classical stuff, opera stuff. And that was where a lot of the formative musical training came into my life, the classical side of it anyway. So what would happen in this boys chorus is we would have a few choirs that would be the beginning, the intermediate, and then the advanced. And the advanced concert choir would kind of do these crazy songs with like 4-part harmonies. And if you can imagine, like, really high notes, and that's the soprano 1, and then the soprano 2, and then the alto 1, and then the alto 2, and they would sing all 4 notes at the same time, and you would get this wonderful chord just kind of coming out. And there is something special about young boy voices before they change. It's very pure sounding. Recently I saw another special from them during a Christmas concert on PBS, and I'm like, oh, it was one of those dorky looking kids up there.
I did the same thing.
You did?
I can relate to all of this.
Yes, awesome.
I sang soprano,
Yeah.
alto,
Yeah.
and then tenor.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah,
And so then,
as my voice went down,
yeah, and so you're still a tenor?
I'm a baritone now, really.
So you just went real gradual through all the different
Yeah, it didn't
registers.
jump. Like, I wasn't one of those guys that starts off very high and just jumps. Mine just literally gradually went down.
Oh, that's real classic.
More and more.
That's real classic. Yeah, mine was awkward, and it was just as awkward as all the other things that happen in puberty. But
So yours did jump right down.
it jumped. It kind of cracked, and I was talking like this for a certain part of my speech. And but the cool thing about singing in the San Francisco Boys Chorus was you learned how to find the right note in the midst of other notes. And a lot of people, if you're not musically trained, someone's singing the melody and you're trying to sing the harmony, and eventually you start singing the melody, you just start singing what they're singing, but you couldn't do that in the choir. And so the parts on top, the soprano 1 and the alto 2, they were kind of the easier parts to sing because there's nobody lower or above them. And then the alto 1 and the soprano 2 were kind of tricky because they're sandwiched in the middle, and you have to find your way, and you have to kind of make sure I'm not too high and I'm not too low, and I'm listening to everybody, and there's timing and pitch and all these types of things. And so it was a really great experience. Now, fast forward to my older brother. He brings a guitar home one day, and if you guys have older brothers, you want to be like your older brother. When he goes out and he goes skateboarding, you want to get a skateboard. And he brings a home guitar, you want to play the guitar, and he wants to hang out with his friends, and he says, no, you can't come. But he did bring a home guitar, and one day when he wasn't looking, I picked it up, and I heard the strings. I heard kind of like a... And I'm like, well, that's not very musical. And so I thought, this is kind of weird, but...
How old are you at this point, by the way?
12.
Okay.
12, and I kind of found this kind of thing happening. The notes were getting higher as the string got shorter, I guess. And then I heard something I recognized. I've heard this before. And then like a fifth, they would call it. And then I heard an octave. And then I heard there's some sadness coming into the chord now. And then another one of these, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? And I matched it with the piano. I found out this was an E, so that's an E minor. And I happen to know from my boys' chorus training just what made up a minor chord. And I said, if I know a minor chord, then I also know a major chord. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And thus began my love affair, my passionate love affair with the guitar. And this was an instrument I could take with me everywhere I went. I learned drums too somewhere along the way, but you can't take drums with you everywhere you go. And a piano, a lot of places have a piano, but it's not portable. And I thought, this guitar thing, this is incredible. And then I learned that there was some band that played Creep. The song named Creep was pretty cool. you know, and somehow I didn't know that Radiohead had all these songs that I heard on the radio until 2005. That's when I became a Radiohead fan, actually. So that's a long story. It's a long story. I'll save for some other time. But all the while, I was kind of finding my way on the guitar just by myself. I had no teacher. Not everybody knows this, but I'm self-taught on the guitar. But I did have some classical training before that with the choir and a little teeny bit with the piano. So in high school, I got some Western music theory training, and then in college, I got some world music theory training. And so what you get is kind of a mix of self-taught and some classical training. And so that's kind of my musical story, my journey there. And one day, you know, my housemate at the time, he was just a budding filmmaker. He said, "Wow, this album's so great, you know, we both love it. Can you play any of the songs?" And I'm like, you know, I can give that a shot. I have a decent ear, and I want to give myself a little challenge, and this album's so beautiful, why not? And we started. He said, I said, "Which one's your favorite one?" He said, "Oh, I really like Foul Star." So I started playing. I didn't think it was that at first. I thought it was Capo 2, and I thought it was like kind of the A minor. And that still worked with Capo 2. But anyway, it took me about 15 minutes or something like that. I figured it out. He filmed me, and he said, "We should put this on YouTube, because that would be the coolest thing. You're the only one who knows how to play it other than the band. Everybody else is just still listening to it right now. They're just enjoying it." And thus began this ridiculous, I don't even know what to call it. You know, that was 5 years ago. And look at you guys are here, partly because of, you know, some crazy guy in his bedroom, you know. He's like, there's nothing to do one day, and he turns on his MacBook camera. But thank you all for showing up. So here's kind of my philosophy in music. My philosophy in music, after kind of many years of just different kinds of experiences with classical training and also with my own kind of experience with teaching myself the guitar, I've kind of found something to be true, that music is really all about relationships. It's about contrast, it's about similarities. And there are high notes and low notes, there's loud and soft, there's time, which is, you know, long notes and short notes, and there's empty space and full of sound space. And music, a lot of it has to do with these relationships. And if you look at every song that you're into, there's going to be a lot of commonalities. And I like to group these commonalities into 3 basic concepts. Now, those of you who see my channel, you see that every now and then Radiohead will come out with a song. Because I love Radiohead, I'm all over it. But, you know, just to kind of challenge myself, let's see how fast I can figure this out. So same night, next day, maybe 5 days later, I'll put a video up, and people say, "What is this, black magic? Are you watching over Tom's shoulders when he's writing the song?" And I'm like, no. You know, I'm just using my ear and my understanding of music theory to go at it. And that's never a satisfactory answer for anybody. And so they say, you know, "Where can I read about this?" And I'm like, I don't know. You kind of just need to do it. You need to receive some training either from somebody, or you need to pursue it yourself. And hopefully what I leave you guys with tonight is a different kind of entry point than just watching some guy teach you a song. Some kind of entry point where you can take away something and build on a foundation that can grow and grow and grow with you. No matter what style of music you're into, you can go different directions with it, and the musician you end up becoming, hopefully, is very different from the musician I end up becoming, because we're different people. And so the commonalities I find between most of the songs that we're into is that all songs that we're into have a melody. And all songs we're into have chords, aka harmony. And all songs have a component of rhythm. Now when I pull those 3 components out of a song, I can eventually reassemble them into the same thing or into a different instrument. You've seen some of the piano songs from Radiohead and Tom York I adapted for the guitar, or multiple instruments I adapt to one instrument. And you can reinterpret it. You can do all sorts of cool things with it, because suddenly you're fluent in the concepts that are in the music. Now, to demonstrate what I'm talking about, okay, I'm gonna do this wild card thing now, okay? It's part 3. This is the crazy part. A little nervous every time I do this, but I'm just gonna open up the floor and say, what's a song you guys know that has a melody you like, or has chords you like, or has some kind of rhythm you like, or anything, any song at all. And we're gonna look it up, and I'm gonna pull those elements out of the song and show you what I do. Anybody.
Yeah.
Who's first? Who's first? Who's
Everything
first?
in its right place. It's just the one I.
Everything in its right place. Okay, that's good.
If you
what's
don't
this song?
mind.
What happened here? Everything in its right place. All right.
I want you to look at the song by, I'm trying to remember the name of the song. It's by Harold Melvin and the Blue Tones. And it's called, oh yeah, The Love I Lost.
The Love I Lost. Okay. Now, why don't we do one at a time?
Well, you can get away from Radiohead if you want. I'm not.
That's no problem. That's no problem. Okay. I obviously haven't done a tutorial on everything in its right place. Okay. So everything in its right place. It's like a piano or kind of a keyboard song, and I happen to know from the sounds that I've heard many times, and just from messing around with it on piano a few times, that it starts kind of on a C major chord. Okay, so it does this thing. It goes, okay, harmony. So I'm playing the song in my head right now, and it goes. So that's kind of what I've written there. Now, if you guys can see that, this is a Roman numeral 1, and that's a flat sign. Flat Roman numeral 2, major 7. Flat 3, the little 6 in there. 4 Roman numeral. Okay, these are all capital, uppercase. There are songs that use lowercase, which is more minor chords, but these are all major chords in the song. And so, knowing what I know about the song, I can then translate that, okay, to the guitar. So I hear the song is just sound in the air. It's hitting my ears, and my brains perceive these pitches and things like that. What I've done is I've organized these pitches into their relationships. The relationships that they have to each other are either major chords, minor chords, or something else. This song happens to use major chords, okay? So major chord, it sounds like this, okay? Recognize this chord. That's not the song, but, okay, so here we go. This one, and then there's a flat 2, which means this is my 1 chord, the very next one is next to it. So you guys remember the next one is there. So it goes, that's not the whole song, right, Warren? Okay, well the next one is major 7, which is, it's like this. Da-da-da-da, just like this chord, C major, half a step up, but you open that note up, so it's just like C. For anyone with a guitar, you can feel free to.
Unfortunately, I'm a bit flat, so I'll have to retune.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit sharp. I don't have perfect pitch. I only have a relative pitch.
I don't either, yeah.
Yeah. But so it's gonna go. Okay, and the next chord is what's known as you can have a 6. Adds a 6 to it. So what that means is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I can also do, but I don't have enough fingers to do that. Where is it? Does that make sense? There it is.
Very easy on piano.
There we go. There we go. That's very easy on piano. But nonetheless, I'll leave one of those notes out. Note that's not that important. In music theory, it's known as a fifth. The fifth is actually the least important note in the chord, but that's boring detail that we don't need to really go through right now. So right now,
Why didn't you tune to this?
right? How does that sound to the people who know the song?
Yeah.
Spot on.
All right, awesome, cool. So then the next thing that happens is you get a little change. It goes to the 4 chords. So here's my 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything, right there, right? Okay, you guys seeing that's the song, but now it's on guitar. Wait, so did Tom play some guitar version and just I watched that secretly and I kind of watched his fingers and saw the shapes his fingers were using? No, that's not what happened, right? Okay, so what happened is I took what I heard, turned it into this, okay, concepts, ideas. And then from that idea form, did you guys know ideas are very mobile? They cross cultures, they cross geographic borders. Ideas are amazing. They just go everywhere, okay? On the internet, they're called memes. And so, like, these things go everywhere. So because the song exists in one form, I changed it into idea form. From idea form, I can change it into something else, which is a guitar song. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? So there's more to the song. Now, yesterday I woke up sucking a lemon. But it's more of the same chords here, and I can write that down and do all that. But I just pulled the harmony from that song. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now I did some rhythmic stuff too, and I didn't bother writing that down at this point. But you can't just play the chords forever, and or play them super fast. The chord has to have some rhythmic element to it to sound convincing, to be able to play it on the street and someone walks by who knows that song and they say, you're playing everything in its right place. In order to make it convincing, we need to have a rhythmic element to it, okay? So here's the rhythm element to that song. Okay, so the rhythmic element of the song, if you count to the song is there's 10 beats to this song.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It goes like this. It goes bum 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 bum. 1, 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So what I do is I kind of count it to 4, 4 and 2. That just makes it easier for my brain.
Yeah.
But if you see it conceptually, there's this 10-beat thing. And in between each of these beats, if guitarists will see this as downstrums and upstrums, drummers see this as right hand and left hand. But there are beats in between as well. So what I would do, something I learned from ethnomusicology, is you imagine there's like a graph paper, and each one of these is just a column, and this is a row, and I go, everything, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and bum, bum. Bum, 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 like that. So there's a dot everywhere there's a chord, or everywhere there's some kind of instance of music happening. It could be a chord, maybe it's a little melody. Right here is like ba-da-da. That's not a chord, that's a melody. And so what I'm writing down is kind of what I hear happening over time. So now each one of these is an equal unit of time, and I count 1 and 9 and 10, 1 and 8, 9 and 10. That's how this starts to sound convincing, okay? So I can write one chord. Uh-oh, it doesn't like being sideways. This pen, most pens. Bum, 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 okay? These are obviously the same chord, and then this one becomes the flat 2. And this one becomes a flat 3. Da-da-da, melody. Okay, that's not music theory right there. That's me writing the melody in 3 syllables. Does this make sense now? I'm going to demonstrate how this works. So it goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and... You see how I'm playing what I wrote here? Okay, this is just a musical, it's a visual representation, which is visual representation of what's happening in the music, okay? So for visual people, this is actually a tool to help you understand sound. And you know, before this kind of invented or whatever, people just learned by sound only. And you only had a certain village musician was like, hey, that's the musician guy. But there are many ways into music, and through a lot of smarter people than me and anybody in this room, you have a lot of people who have done music theory for ages and broken down music and put music back together. And what we end up with is some very potent concepts that we can pull out of songs and see in multiple songs. And this song has some connection to that song, and there's commonalities here from this artist to that artist. And you know, Radiohead repeats themselves sometimes. You know, but you know, they fashion music together beautifully. And that's why we still love them. But there's a lot going on musically that you can pull out of the song that you would never be able to see just from a tab. You would never just be able to see it from even hearing it. Just you could kind of say, oh, that's kind of like this-ish. You know, oh, this reminds me of that song-ish. But now it's like we can actually prove it. This music theory thing, it helps us to actually bring what we hear into a place where we can analyze something. And that's really amazing. That's really amazing when you can break music down to a point where it's useful. Okay? It's not just this wall of sound that hits you and you passively just kind of absorb it and enjoy it and love it. But now we can actively engage with it. Okay? There's somebody else we can actively engage with when we're learning music, and it's a teacher. But I see songs very much like they're a passive teacher. The song is the teacher for me. So although I'm self-taught on the guitar, really no, Radiohead's my teacher, Tom York's my teacher, John Green was my teacher, Stevie Ray Vaughan's my teacher, Eric Clapton's my teacher. A lot of people are my teachers because I let what they do musically show me the ideas that I didn't think of putting together. And something deep about that song comes to life that couldn't have come out just from hearing it. Now you learn also something from playing it. So this is not the end. Okay, me putting it together, there's something in that too. But this is a critical link between hearing a song and playing a song. Most people, they just hear a song and they love listening to music. They say, I love music. And a lot of people, they try and pick up an instrument and they try and play. Some of them are great, some of them, you know, maybe they struggle with it. But most people, okay, I would say most people don't ever think about this middle part that actually connects the two. It bridges the two. From somebody who's listening to a song to somebody who's playing a song, there's something in the middle. This middle thing is this. It's understanding. And this understanding thing is not pure music theory. It comes from the ear as well, because you have to engage your ear in order to be able to even come up with this stuff. So the ear and the understanding, okay, there's this dance between the two, and it creates this missing link between hearing music and playing music. And that's the thing that's missing. Why can't we play all the music we hear? Well, the answer is this, in my opinion. This is only one way to write out this chord progression. I could have written C major, D flat major 7, and then E flat add 6, I could have done that, okay, but this is my way. It's the most potent way for me. Which way you do it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you put in the time and that you actually try to get deeper into a song rather than just saying, oh, I love that. I wish someone would teach it to me. I wish someone would just teach me the song. And there are times for that, I think. You know, when you're really only into one song, you don't have the time to just really delve into it. There are people out there who will do some crazy things on YouTube occasionally, right? You know, some guys, I don't know, it's just like they have nothing better to do. But, you know, there's something else to be gained if we're able to have some foundational understandings and skills in place. That your ear, can your ear get a little bit better? Well, if it can, then that's awesome because that opens the door to some things. Do you understand the concept of a major scale? Has anybody ever explained it to you and it's stuck? Well, if that's the case, that can open some amazing doors because so much music is written in a major scale. Not all music, but you need to put your ear and your understanding of music theory together, and all of a sudden you can start to figure out songs using the major scale. And there's like, whoa, this crazy door is going to open that couldn't have opened if you hadn't actually done it. It can't be downloaded into your brain, you know, like in the Matrix. I really wish I could. It's all up here, but this experience of actually getting into the music and pulling these things out of it, that's like, it just gets better and better, and it gets easier and easier. I look back at my videos 5 years ago, and I'm not really satisfied with them anymore. If I could, I'd redo them, but they have too many views, and a lot of views on a video looks sexy. Looks really sexy. Yeah.
You know the problem I have, Warren, because I've tried to do this myself many times, and the problem I always have is especially if it's a piece of music where there's a lot going on. There might be more than one guitar. There might be drums and so on. Just getting a hook to start on is really hard. If someone shows me, if someone says, oh, this is the chord at this point, or this is what's happening here, I can then kind of extrapolate from that, usually, myself. But starting from scratch, I find it very, very hard sometimes.
I think one of the problems with the guitar as well is it's a blessing and a curse. It's very easy to get started on the guitar because if you want to transpose, you know that you just slide the shape up. But the problem is that whilst you can get started very, very quickly, you're not learning what notes are in those chords because you're just sliding them around. Whereas a pianist, he has to know what to sharpen and flatten. So.
These are some good deep insights. So what do you guys think about what they're saying? You guys relate with that? Okay, because we could have people with different experience levels and things like that, but with what you guys said, okay, I'm gonna address those things really quick. So, Tarek, you said essentially that it's hard to grab a hold of a song from scratch. Now, imagine a song is like a mountain, and you're just climbing this mountain, and a beginner can climb the end because it's kind of flat. There's a lot of handholds and footholds, but maybe they can't do the first thing, which is like a 3 foot. I got to jump and hold on to this thing. Well, a lot of times there's somebody who's more experienced that can kind of boost you up or has done it before and say, oh, it's pretty simple. You actually just go like this, right? And then from then on, you can journey together, okay? So there are a couple ways to answer what you said. Number one is simply put a teacher, a coach, an instructor, okay? Number two is you could find a music buddy who's maybe interested in dialoguing with you back and forth about music on a deep level, okay? Not just as, oh, isn't this song great? Let's learn this one cool riff and just jam on it. You know what I mean? That's one thing. But to actually get into what is that, guys? That's like it's like a major chord, but there's like an extra note in there, right? To that deeper level. You two can piggyback off of each other and say, well, I was working on this one song, and I saw this chord, and that sounds similar to what you're talking. And then does that make sense? So there's that. Number 3 way, there's many ways to attack the problem, okay? There's a tool called Amazing Slow Downer. It slows down music to 20% of the original speed without changing the pitch. People used to turn vinyl down to half speed so that it was an octave lower than the original. Lift the needle, turn the record back, drop the needle, play it, hear it, drop it, play it, lift it, drop it. It's just like, this is the best time to learn music. There's no excuse. Absolutely no excuse, you know what I mean? And the last thing I would say to that is, go with whatever sounds like it can hook you. If it's not the chords, and the chords is what you want to learn, don't start with the chords. Start with one note. What is one note I can identify in it? I don't care if it's the guitar or the trumpet or the keyboard or whatever. I can identify one note. Once you identify one note, a lot of times that'll open up the path to other ones, okay? So you guys ever play Sudoku and just do all the numbers left to right, left to right, down, 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 down? No, nobody does that. You do Sudoku and you wait for the one that's the most filled out, the one that seems the most obvious to you. And then once you do that, that row becomes easier. And what do you do with a jigsaw puzzle? You do the corners. The corner pieces help you get the rest. Crossword puzzle, you do the easiest word first. You see what I'm saying? Now, there are many songs that I don't understand how to play, but I start, and that's a momentum building thing. As I continue and continue and continue, it just eventually all comes together. And that's not to say I've arrived, okay? I have kind of convincingly been able to do this with a lot of songs that people have difficulty doing, but that doesn't mean that I'm satisfied. I want to get better at this whole thing I'm talking about here. I get better at this all the time. Like I said, 5 years ago I was making videos that I'm not satisfied with today. So as long as you're improving, does that make sense? So that's your did I address your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And your question, your name again, I'm sorry?
Tim.
Tim, that's right. Okay, so Tim, when you said a lot of people look at the guitar as like a shape and I can transpose this and it's different chords and that's great, but we're not really thinking about what notes they are, like piano players are. Well, there's a remedy that I do for that, okay? So when I look at this, okay, key of C, what on earth is this? I actually have to translate this. Equals 1, 3, 5. Flat 2 equals flat 2, 4, and flat 6. Flat 3 equals flat 3, and it has a flat 5. Regular 5, I'm sorry, and a flat 7. And then when I add a 6 to it, that's an 8. And this is also an 8 because that's a major 7 chord. 7 from 2 is 8. And this actually has kind of an 8 over here, but 8 is the same as 1 if you guys know about octaves. C and C are both C. Okay? Now in the key of C, now I'll give you guys the decoder for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is C. That's D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If you guys look at the piano keyboard, these blank spots are the black keys. That's the piano didn't come up with the major scale. The major scale was around a long time before the piano. The piano decided, I'm going to make all the white keys the major scale, so whoever plays the white keys can play the most popular scale in music. That's why the piano's like that. This is just the thought that's behind it. This is the naked major scale idea behind the piano. And using this, boom, 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 1, 3, 5 is C, E, G, and then I pick up the guitar. The guitar is the last thing that I do in this process. The first part is listening and hearing what I hear, and then putting it into thought form, and all of a sudden, then I can do it. Because this is a A string, 3 frets higher than A, C, 2 frets higher than D, E, open G string's a G, first fret B is a C. Now I did that really fast, but that doesn't mean that just because you can't do it fast, you can't do what I just did. So I can do it here too, you know. Something like that, right? I did it over here, and then I did it over here, and those shapes were different, weren't they, Tim? The shapes were different because another thing is happening now, okay? Now I went from the theory side and the kind of the sound side to influence and to tell me what to do on the guitar. I didn't know how to play it on the guitar, but I learned it from the work I did with my ear and my mind. You see what I'm saying? The other way to do it is the other way around and say, I'm going to fish around and play until it sounds like it. And it's very unfortunate that a lot of times people do that with songs. with stuff that they can't play because they've never experienced it before. They've never encountered that chord shape. So where do you even begin if you want to play a song with your fingers, right? And so that's kind of the other end. Let's be honest, right? How many times have we heard a song and we said, I'm just going to pick up my guitar and try and play it and try to match what we hear?
Or like thought, oh, I'm going to download the tab for that. Find someone's got a tab, but the tab is wrong because they've guessed the chords, and then some of the chords are just not right.
Because they go with what the fingers want to do. And sometimes artists are doing stuff that your fingers don't want to do. And that doesn't stop me from learning it because I found a different way. I kind of found a side way into it. And I said, I'm going to listen to what he's playing. And I'm going to think about what I'm hearing. And if I can enter into the song that way, I don't need to see his fingers to learn it. If I see his fingers and I hear it and I try to think about what I'm hearing, there's no question I'll be able to figure out the song. Even if it's an alternate tuning, even if it's like, I saw Bon Iver in concert once. He was playing the song Regarding Stax. If you guys don't know Bon Iver, it's fine. Folky kind of artist, very, very beautiful, rich, falsetto voice. There's a song that's mesmerizing, spellbinding to me. I just never bothered to figure it out because every time I listened to it, I was just into it. I'm at the concert though one day, and I'm like, I see his fingers right in front of me, and I can't help but say, okay, he's showing me how to play the song, so I guess I'll pay attention to what his fingers are doing. So I looked at his fingers, and I saw his fingers. There was a capo, and there was a chord, and the chord was something like a 4-chord in first inversion, and it had a 5 in it as well. Now, if you don't understand it, that's fine. But I just did this real quick in my head because I was hearing these notes, and then I figured, okay, they're put together in this way. And then I did some math. I saw his fingers were on certain frets, so I subtracted those frets back to the open capo. So I said, if I hear what I hear and I see what I see, I also know the notes that would be there if you let go of his fingers. So if you let go of all of his fingers, that gives a tuning away. So I went home and I taught myself that song after I wrote it on my cell phone. The tuning is do, so, do, mi, so, do. I learned that was a tuning. Or in other words, 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, E, or 1, okay? It wasn't C in this case, it was actually like an open D string, but the name of the note doesn't matter if you know the relationship between the notes. The numbers are there, and I use the numbers because the numbers show you the relationships between the notes, whole steps and half steps and stuff. But you understand, I learned the song without touching the guitar again, but I learned it from watching him play the guitar. So there's different ways into a song. Now, the way that song worked for me was after I understood the tuning, I could then try the different chord shapes that they were based on the open string. So if I hear a note that's not an open string, I can find that note from the open string by creeping up the fretboard until I find it. And it's a standard tuning. If you look at standard tuning, here's E, okay? It does not like this, being sideways. E, standard tuning, right, is right next to F, okay? That's your 6th string. F is right there, and G is right here, and A is right here. But lo and behold, if you guys ever tune the guitar manually, that 5th fret, which is 5 half steps away, will bring you to the same note as the 5th string. So A to B, C, D, that's your 4th string. And then I'm going to switch this. Put this over here. And then D, E, F, G, that's your 3rd string. Yeah? And then B, 2nd string. There it is, okay? C, D, E, 1st string. And the distance between these is 5 half steps. Each half step is a fret, 5 half steps. Come on now, okay. This one is a different one, 4 half steps. Anybody who's tuned the guitar manually knows. 5.
Real pain.
5, 5, 5, 4, 5. Now, knowing what I know about this, if I'm playing a song, okay, and I say, hey, I know what I'm hearing. I'm hearing da 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 da, back to everything in its right place. If I find that first note, and finding that first note and matching it, that's not rocket science. Sounds right, it is right. Da da da, goes up a little bit, and then it goes up a little bit more, but a little bigger. So a half step, whole step. So what string am I on here? Second string. I can just go to the first fret. Now Tim, why don't you go and play the first fret of the second string for me?
First fret of the second string.
There it is. And then now the second fret.
It's the second fret.
And then the fourth fret. Now I knew it was going to sound like that before he even played it. Does that make sense? Because the music theory is right, it has to sound right. Unless I'm out of tune, you know, my string is just not right. It's going to sound that way if my understanding of what I'm hearing is correct, okay? And that's a big if. It takes training. But you go da 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 da, okay? And then everything. Now we'll do a melody portion now. We did harmony, rhythm. I told you guys there are 3 parts to a song. Here's the melody. Here's the melody portion. It's gonna go everything in its right place. In its right place. Yesterday I woke up sunken a lemon. So let's sing note, and then there are 2 colors in my head. 2 colors. Sorry about that. I'll leave that out. There are 2 colors in my head. Now he just figured that out. How did you figure that out?
Me, I just this it was pretty easy because
It's hard to explain, isn't it?
it was all semitones and tones. It was
Semitones and tones, half steps and whole steps. On the
Yeah.
guitar, that's 1 or 2 frets,
Yeah.
right? And so what you did was you used your ear to discern whether it was a semitone or a tone, and you said, oh, well, my finger's got to go here to get a semitone higher. So you heard everything. That one's a little harder because it's a bigger jump. It's actually going to be the 6th fret
yeah.
to the 1st fret, back to the 6th fret. I know that because 1, 2, 3, 4 is how many half steps? That's 2, that's 4, that's 5. 5 half steps. If F is on the 6th fret of the B string, 6 minus 5 is 1, so the 1st fret would be the first note. So it's a little bit of math, but 5 half steps down, back up, 5 half steps. Now, clearly, that melody would be easier to play on 2 strings because we know that E is right here and the F is right there.
That's right, yeah.
1st fret of the 1st string is F. Why don't we play everything's 1st string, 2nd string, 1st string. Go ahead and play the 1st fret of the 1st string. First, there it is. And then back to the 2nd string, 1st fret. And then the same note again. And then up a fret. And then down a fret. And then this one. And then we're going to go down 2 frets. You can't go down 2 frets on the 2nd string. So what you can do is jump down to the G string 1st fret, which is the wrong note, and then go up 2 frets to the right note. Well, we just subtracted 4 and went up 2 so that we've reached this flat 7, which is right here. From your 8, which is also the one that's a C. C we move down to a B flat. B flat, 3rd fret of the G string. You ask anybody who plays guitar, what's the 3rd fret of the G string? They'll tell you it's A sharp or B flat. And so there you go. If this is the 3rd fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. I'm sorry about that. So you were on the 3rd string, 1st fret, which was a G sharp or A flat. And then I told you to go 2 frets up from that. And that's our note. That's the note we're looking for. You guys see the connection between how the strings are tuned and the scale I laid out right here? These are all semitones. And they overlap. Like you said, the guitar is You love it, and guitar tuning is, you love it and you hate it because it makes so many things easy to play, but it gets jumbled up when you move from string to string. So the work of unraveling the relationships between the strings is where the work needs to go.
I once read, perhaps it was on Wikipedia, in which case maybe we shouldn't trust it, but I once read that the tuning came from the sort of Elizabethan lutists, and they wanted to make the minor chords easy.
Yeah.
So back to your E minor, you know,
Yeah,
the only
very easy to play.
very
The
easy to play.
first chord I ever played. And the tuning makes the E minor chord, for instance, E minor, as with every minor chord, there's a formula to the chord. That's what makes all minor chords sound minor. It's 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 half steps is the formula to a minor chord. And if I look 3 half steps from E, what's that? G. Well, oh my gosh, there it is. And then plus 4 is a B. Oh my gosh, look at that. And there's another E. So there's 4 strings in the open guitar tuning that contribute to a minor shape, that when you bar it, there's always going to be the 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st string that you don't need to do anything to play a minor chord. Now, as you said, when people do that, they get lazy, and they'll do, okay, and that'll be, and that's all they do. But what about the other ones? It takes a little bit more thinking to be able to unravel the relationships to the other strings. But knowing these things, okay, these are concepts that begin to form, okay? Now, it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not trying to advocate that what I'm talking about is like you're going to go out and just kill every piece of music that you've ever wanted to learn in one night or something like that. That would be insane. Musicians, I mean, they do a lot. When nobody's looking, they're playing in their bedroom, and that's why I have respect for other people. No matter how bad they sound, if you get up there and you play in front of others, I know you've worked hard at it, so I respect that. But when you begin to put some of these things together, they form a foundation that you can build something on musically for any instrument for a long time. And you're going to keep getting better and better and better. It's going to connect from this song to that song, from this riff to that riff, from this artist to that artist. You're going to start to form a web of growing connections that eventually become musical experiences that you can relate to other ones as well. And it just becomes this great thing called, what I call, musical fluency. It's just, you become fluent in music. So far, are there any questions? Like, I kind of did the demonstration part and we went right into some really heavy teaching stuff. I know it's heavy, believe me. This is not something I would do with every student the first day. But are there any questions about anything like this without getting too in depth? No? Okay, so just to show you, what's that song you mentioned again? Tarek, I didn't forget about you.
Can I change it?
Oh, sure.
To a song that I tried to once work out.
Let's do it.
Paul Simon's song.
Paul Simon.
Called St. Judy's Comet.
St.
Judy's Comet.
Judy Comet. Comet.
Comet. C-O-M-E-T. St. Judy's Comet.
Okay, let's see if this is, I don't know, maybe this YouTube link will work. Okay. What part did you have trouble with?
Oh, little sleepy boy, do you know what time it is? Well, the hour of your bedtime's long past. And though I know you're fighting, I can tell when you rub your eyes, you're fading fast. Oh, fading fast. Won't you run, come see St. Judy's Comet roll across the skies? Leave a spray of diamonds in its way.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. He actually does a major 7 for and then he changes to a. has some ninth as well.
Yeah.
So he throws this in, which is a major seventh, but then he does a. Did you hear that?
Oh, that's the solo.
He's got some other guitar
That's the
there.
other guitar, yeah.
So I didn't sit down with this. Obviously, I don't have any decent headphones, and
Yeah.
I'm not hearing all the details. But I hear an E dominant 9 chord. There's this right there. It's good. If you listen, what I'm doing here is here's the bum, and I hear your octave. Did you hear that?
So that gives you kind of the key of the
It gives me the main notes in the chord for sure. Yeah. You hear that? Da, da. How did I know that was a ninth? It was because I sang da 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Am I convincing?
Yeah.
All right. So nine, the flat 7, and this one goes right after. It does a really fast finger picking. What do you think?
Hang on, I couldn't hear.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, carry on. Perfect. That's
So-
that's the picking.
Now I didn't get through the whole song, okay? But what I'm doing is I'm showing you again the relationship between the first note of the chord, bum, and this high note. I know it's like way high. How do I know how high it is? I sang the scale in my head. You didn't hear me do it, but I sung the scale in my head. Da 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 da. That's the ninth note. So if there's a ninth note, I know E is the 1 and the A, and then the ninth is an F sharp. And where's my F sharp? There it is. So there you go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we weren't in cahoots before this. Okay, there was no kind of like,
No.
we weren't prepared.
It's not a setup.
You weren't a plant, and some magician here. Okay. Does anybody else have another example, similar or maybe different that they'd like to hear? Sort of so stout, as they say here. Also stout. If not, that's fine too. How about over here? I have a feeling you got a really complicated one that you're gonna throw at me.
I can't think of one.
He listens to some very he's big with the Chick Corea records and stuff. So yeah.
I can't think of
fusion,
one.
So sometimes with that fusion stuff, it's just the speed.
Yeah.
The speed is gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
If you were to imagine slowing down all the songs, how hard would they be to figure out? So
What was the name of the tool again?
The tool, amazing slow down.
Amazing Slow Down.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you see what I'm saying? If it were not fast, okay, there's still music out there that's slow and complex, like, like. That's really weird, and then they go key change.
Yeah, key change.
It's just weird stuff, and it took me a long time to work that one out. Not because this part was any harder than any other song, okay? But just the entire process of like, wait a second, I haven't seen this before. I haven't seen this before. I haven't seen this before. I haven't seen these shapes before. And that's the process of getting familiar with these shapes. But this part was just as easy for this song as it was for any other song.
I've got one, and
Here we go. Here we go.
No, it's not too difficult, but it's an example of one where they're probably using a different tuning.
Oh, right.
And I remember, I remember this would be years and years ago. I picked up my guitar. I thought they're obviously using a different tuning, and that's it. I've given up.
Which one? Which one is it?
It's very
song?
old song. It's Wild West End by Dire Straits.
I'm trying my best, okay?
Yeah.
So here we go.
It's a simple chord progression, but.
So the first thing I hear is something da 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 da. I always start off with the easiest thing I can pick out of the song. So here. And then I also hear a note underneath it mimicking the same movement. It's like a little brother is tagging along. And I hear, but then it doesn't go to here. That would sound too Chinese or something. It didn't really work that. And then it goes. Something like that.
It's so custom as well, isn't it?
Something like that. So now obviously my fingers are in kind of a weird shape, right? But that's exactly what you're hearing, right?
Yeah, there's some tone going on.
So now comes a question of how do you figure out what the tuning is? That's what your question is, right?
Yeah, yeah, basically.
So the okay, I'll just show you. Okay, so the first thing I did was figure out kind of the notes. The notes are the first thing. I just take it step by step. I don't worry that I don't have the tuning right, or you're telling me it's alternate tuning. I don't even know if it is. It might be, it might not be. But if I were trying to make it easier, which is the only reason people use alternate tunings, and to make it possible, if it's not possible,
or to make some notes like open string notes.
They're the same reason. I was just going to get to that. So it's the same reason. It's to make it easier. The open string makes it easier to play those notes that you want to hear, right? So they're one and the same. So what I would do is, so see what I did there? I went. Oh, sorry. Right here. There we go. Let's do it again properly. What I just did was I left it so that this string was my open note, and that makes it easier to keep it while I'm playing.
Yeah, so let's make it an open string.
Now, I'm gonna, now here's the thing where a lot of people will say, well, I'm still overwhelmed. How do I know that that's the right tuning? There's so many possibilities. This is my method. I go until it's not the right tuning. I keep going with that until it's not the right tuning. And if I hear something, remember, it all starts with listening, guys. It doesn't start with playing. If you hear something that says, this is not what's happening, let's go somewhere otherwise, then that will help you figure out what the tuning is. And you would reapply that to the beginning of the song, because clearly he's not changing the tuning in the middle of the song. That's the tuning for the entire song. And whatever you figured out before is still true. It's just new for the fingers. Let's figure out the new way to reconfigure. I did the same thing with the 3 finger-picking songs by a guy named Derek Webb. They're called Seagull Song, Revelation, and Down Around You. If you guys know my channel, they're already on. I did cover them. My freshman year in college, I was in love with these songs because some guy showed me. He said, they're one guy. I said, that's impossible because there's a melody and there's a rhythm part and there's chords and everything. How's it even? No. And so he's like, I think it's some kind of weird tuning. I said, oh, I gotta figure this out. And those 3 songs taught me more about guitar, music theory, ear training, and the challenge of doing them than almost anything put together before that. It was the hardest thing I ever did at that time as a guitarist. But when I did, okay, when I listened to the song, I heard some open strings that kept happening over and over and over again. Finally figured out the tuning. I actually did it the wrong way because in one of the songs he plays harmonics and he gives away the tune. And I was like, should have figured that one out first, you stupid. And then after I figured out the tuning, I realized all three of the songs were in the same tuning. Of course, people are human, man. You come across a good tuning, you're gonna play a few songs when you're writing, you know? You're gonna write a few songs in that tuning. Radiohead, they love Drop D. Okay, they've written many songs in that tuning, but of course, being the crazy career musicians that they are, they could explore some other stuff for fun and creativity's sake. But you're going to use a lot of the same tunings and explore the depths of them before you move on to the next, okay? Unless you're, Michael Hedges, Andy McKee.
Oh, yeah,
those guys. So different category, okay?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that one day in level 5 advanced workshop, okay? But the idea of that alternate tuning thing, okay? We're going to wrap this up real soon. I'd say it's getting late. No? Still no. Yeah, okay, but we'll be wrapping this up soon.
We're good for half an hour.
All right, awesome. So, the idea about alternate tunings, then, all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second. There's going to be some logic to this song now. Let's see if any of these things work. And you're going to try things that feel like your hand is comfortable, And pretty soon you're going to realize, wow, yeah, it makes total sense why it's in this tuning. Now, I learned those songs, it took me months just to get down the notes, I'd say. No, it took weeks to get down the notes, but it took months to get the phrasing. It took months to get the hammer-ons and the pull-offs and the slides and the soft and loud and then sort of like the smoothness of it, and then kind of making the transition seem kind of seamless, and just kind of the retardandos and like the really expressive stuff took me years, I'd say, to really get into the nitty-gritty of the song. I still look back on the videos that I did with YouTube and the other times I played the songs with people who appreciate that stuff. I think about it, and I'm still getting better at learning those songs. But I put myself 100% into them. And the crazy thing is, these are these obscure songs that are from this guy. And they're not even released. I had to go on eBay to buy fan club CDs where these recordings were. And this guy found them on Twitter, and he messaged me and he said, I can't believe you found these songs. I don't even know where you found them. And let alone play them note to note.
The composer found them.
The composer found them. He said, bravo, I'm sure I don't even know how to play these songs anymore. So they're all yours. And I'm like, what does that mean? Whoa. I guess he kind of made me like an honorary, a little honorary owner of the song, just because I really got into it, I really delved into it. So the idea there, what I'm saying is you really know the tuning, you can so get into the song to the point where you can start to think the way the artist thought when they're playing that song. If you really get into the mind of the artist, you can start to reinterpret. You can start to really feel the nuances and choose to communicate these nuances or not. And that's kind of what I did with that song. And it wasn't so much that the guy knew who I was that was so validating. It was that these hours that I had spent when no one was looking, when no one was watching, all of a sudden felt like this guy understood me, that I had done that. And I'm sure he had done that with his guitar heroes as well. Does it make sense? He was my guitar hero for a time. And somebody else was his guitar hero before him. And he said he was a great fan of it. I looked it up, and sure enough, that guy does a lot of the stuff that this guy does. He didn't create all those things that I heard. He didn't innovate all of them. Radiohead has their influences too. And so you got to go back and get deeper. And you see that eventually, these little innovations people make, they are all piggybacking on something. Why is this song so amazing? Well, it's the tuning. Once you get the tuning, figures it all out. Why is this song so amazing? Oh, because it's in 10. Songs aren't in 10 beats. Once you do that, song is figured out, rhythmically at least, right? What are these things that make us like the music so much? What are these things that make us like the music that we like so much? And that question is what drives me. That question is what drives me, and everything I learn from that process helps me not only play the song better, but express myself musically better. And in the end, okay, if I were to like sum all this up, okay, the point of this is not to be able to just play by ear. The point of this is not to even create like guitar-only versions of a full band song, some solo acoustic guitar version. And that's like really cool if you do it. But in the end, for me, the better you get at understanding the music that you love, the more you get to be yourself musically. You find yourself, you find your voice, you find your style. And to me, I'm looking for that all the time when I play the guitar. I love playing the songs that I love and mimicking the other artists that I love. You learn by imitation, but in the end, that's not what it's all about, in my opinion. What it's all about is to be able to find your own voice in music, and to be able to let that reflection in the sound, that sound be a reflection of something that is in you. You know, the music it's there. Maybe it's in your head. You're a very cerebral person when it comes to writing music, or maybe it's just somewhere in this emo, young heart of yours, and it just, there it is in sound, and there's something really amazing and satisfying about seeing that. You know what I mean? So, I guess in summation, right, this musical fluency concept, this thing that connects what we hear with what we're playing, this thing that helps us step by step get to the meat and potatoes of what makes the song tick and how this person's able to do it on the instrument. This kind of approach to music, okay? It's not for everybody. It's not the only way into a song either. If you love playing and just playing songs, go for it. I have nothing against that. But if you have the time, you have the effort to actually work at this, the foundation you can build in this, you can build it into anything you want musically. You can go in any direction you want to go musically. And in the end, hopefully, what you find is a piece of what you've always been trying to say on the instrument, And really, this is even bigger than the guitar. It's just music, But that's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Thank you for challenging me with some stuff that I've not heard. Well, that I have heard. But you saw, I did different things with it. And then the two songs I didn't hear, hopefully you guys kind of got something from that, But any last kind of questions, it doesn't even have to be about this. Just leave it open.
What's happened to your original guitar that needs fixing?
So, due to reasons I won't go into right now, it suffered an injury and quite a mortal wound. And it's going to cost some time and some money. And but the guitar makers, just two guys in Santa Cruz, really nice guys. They're really great. They have a relationship with everybody who buys the guitars. Really good relationship with everybody.
They couldn't be in better hands.
Yeah, they take good care of me. Whenever I need maintenance on my guitar, I go in and just drive over to their factory, which is just, where they build the guitars in the basement. And they take care of me. So they've been really great to me. I hope that I can just be a good representative of them. And so they would just, take this all around Europe. Don't worry about a dent, scratch here and that.
And they're pretty...
Don't do anything to the guitar. But like when I bring this back, they'll eventually.
You've only had it for a year or something.
A year or two.
Was that a Kickstarter?
Yes, it was. It was a little over a year ago. It's like last year, April, two years ago. And I still have requests that I need to fulfill for that ridiculously long. I put a lot of work into all these videos, and it takes a long time to go through them, but I need to keep my promises. But that's what's up with the guitar right now. I miss it, It's kind of it's in need of repair, and kind of like you feel this thing where your guitar is not doing well.
I saw on your channel, like when I first discovered your channel, I saw that your channel had some of your own compositions. Are you still writing? Is that something that you're doing? Or?
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm a younger songwriter than I am a musician. And so for me, I'm still finding like my voice in terms of my songcraft. But I would say after my experience with kind of my formative musical experiences, and after my experience with my band, which was a 2.5-year period where I just really went hardcore and playing with others, learned a lot from them. That band ended. It was tough for me to let go of that band, but the past 2 years I've been writing solo stuff, and whatever I put up on my SoundCloud, I'm pretty proud of some of those. Not proud of all those songs, but yeah, I'm working on an
Oh, I
album.
think they have a SoundCloud. No,
I do.
Check it out.
SoundCloud.com/WARREN, and I am putting together a solo album. So I don't know if all those will end up on there, but I have a feeling that a lot of them will. And hopefully, I don't really have a deadline for myself, but I just want to do it right. You know, I want all the songs to kind of feel cohesive, like they work together as an album. And I want the whole thing to be like something you can listen to again and again, not just like once, you know. And you know, a little bit of perfectionism in me. So I don't know when you guys will see it, but you know, for sure, YouTube will definitely know about it, because you know, I'd like to eventually get some people to hear it, you know, after it's done. But yeah, I would love to share that stuff with you guys, you know, whatever. Whenever you have time,
When
just
you guys
check it
back?
out. Huh?
When you going back? When you going back?
Oh, Tuesday.
My God.
Yeah. And sometimes I can write a song in the night and it just comes to me, but sometimes certain songs, they never seem to want to get finished, and certain ones are like, it's been like over 2 years now, and I haven't found the right way to end, and I don't worry about them too much. I try to move on and find a new one, you know. So there's like tons of stuff on my computer right now. You guys probably never hear because it's just not done or it's not good enough, you know, of my own stuff. You know.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What's your approach to you talked about musical fluency, but what's your approach to best learning scales and on the guitar and what the notes are?
My best approach is, put that pen, here it is. Buy a notebook of graph paper and study the concept of what makes that scale that scale. Scales and modes. Here's one, here's the major scale. That's, for example, the raw naked form of the major scale. If this happens to be a C, that'll be a D. If that's a D, that'll be a E, that'll be a F, and so on and so forth. If this is a G, that'll be a A. If this is an A, that'll be a B. If it's a B, that'll be a C.
But if you're trying to learn that on the guitar, is it just a matter of repetition? Do you just simply play the scale over and over again, all over the neck?
So what I do is, like, for a very, like, a guitarist, right, you want to kind of tangibly say, well, how do you learn the scale the best so the fingers are just going to go? For me, I don't operate that way so much. I think about the scale and I try to understand the scale, and I even sing the scale with my guitar. I go, oh, it sounds nice. I love that. That sounds nice. I forgot I retuned this string. So I sing the scale. Da, 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 da. If what I'm singing is what I understand to be the scale and matches what I play, then I got the scale correct.
Yeah.
The last thing I worry about is, can I play this quickly or with facility? But once I do that, and I go,
So you do practice those little, ditties that you get, because that is practicing those sorts of things that drive away the lengthy rolls from continuing with the musical instrument,
That's true, but I don't spend much of the time doing this. What I end up doing is I like to just explore the scale as kind of like, so what you saw me do right now is what I do with a lot of students who are asking for some very specific exercises. Because, you know, that's kind of what that question is about. It's like, how do I get good at scales? Well, you gotta practice your scales. But if you wanna, how do I explore the sound of the major scale? That's a very different question. And so then I'll go, you know, and then I'll do something like this. And I'll go. What's the point of that? Well, what I just did was 2 chords in the key of C major, and I used the C major scale to play through the chords, so that the chord shape is not a static shape that doesn't move around anymore. It's actually a shape that can produce some melodies. So then that's how you get stuff like this. When I hear that, I hear, first of all, beautiful song. But secondly, I hear it's pretty simple. It's just a C major scale through the chords. So I'll take the chord and I'll go. And then I really know all the notes of the C major scale in that position where my hand is. Okay? Then challenge myself a little bit. I'll go.
Clarification, just to make sure I understood.
Yeah,
You're just holding a chord and playing all the notes while holding that chord.
exactly.
That's what you mean.
Exactly. But what that does is that forces your brain to recognize, hey, so this is not a shape that never changes. This is actually notes on the scale. This is the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. So if I were, someone give me a bunch of numbers. Just give me 5 numbers in a row. 1 through 8. Yeah. 4, 3.
4, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Do you like that? Cool. So I did 4, 3, 2, 4, 5, and then maybe I'll go write a song. Some 90s acoustic rock. That was an unintentional move. So you gave me some numbers, and that was a completely theoretical melody until I played it on the guitar. That's one way to start writing a song. It may not be a foolproof way to write a song, but that's a way to write something that you never played before. You put your fingers in some way that maybe you'll discover something that you like. You know?
Something I understand.
Something
why.
musical.
I understand why you said that you struggled to, you have so many ideas, but you struggle to finish them because when you just did that, it looked like to me that you must see everything or something like you must. You're in the Matrix. Like you must
I'm in the Matrix. I'm in the Matrix. You're not the first person who's told me that. My students have said, dude, you're like Neo. You're like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah.
The way I see it is there's so many ways to go. And so when you have too many choices, it becomes very difficult to make a choice. But yeah, that's some of my struggle as a songwriter is there are too many choices. Yeah, that's one of the bigger struggles. Very insightful.
How do you start off like singing? How did you start off?
How did I start off
Like
with this? Okay,
Yeah.
so like the idea of da 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 da. Any serious student of music needs to know the major scale. If you're in the Western world, or your music that you listen to is influenced by Western music, which is almost the whole world, you need to know the major scale, because the major scale is kind of the crux of, or the mother of all scales. And what that is simply whole step, half step, whole step, half step. tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. What that does, okay, is that helps you to understand relationships. If I am able to understand da-da sounds like this, da-da sounds like this, when I hear da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it's like some classical song, all of a sudden,
Magic flute.
there it is. There you go. There's magic flute. I should know that. It's like obviously.
Queen of the Nights.
So I should be able to know, though a deer, a female deer. I should be able to know, London Bridge is falling down. I should be able to know, happy birthday to you. I should be able to know, joy to the world, oh, our Lord has come. I should be able to know, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. You see how many songs come from that? Even bum, 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 I got sunshine. Okay? I'm like playing the piano with my finger in the air on a piece of paper right now. That's what I'm doing. Okay? And then that's translatable to the guitar.
Some songs just do the scale like.
Yeah. Or so here's one.
This is all the scale up.
Yeah. So how do you get started? Learn the major scale. Major scale is the birthplace of so many melodies. Not only that, but the major scale also is the birthplace of major chords, minor chords. There's even a little funky chord in the major scale that not a lot of people use, but Radiohead likes to use it sometimes. It's called a diminished chord. But anyway, learn the major scale and see how the melodies of the songs that you've kind of grown up listening to, a lot of times songs you sung as a kid, all major scale songs. Learn to apply what you hear to the songs that you get on the radio or on YouTube or whatever, right? And then see if you can translate the song, fade out again, which is this octave higher. You see what I'm saying? It carries over. It can be, I'll drown my wings to have you. But you see what I'm saying? Take some idea that is really big in Western music and see if you can identify that in the song. Now that's easier said than done, but you know, look for songs in the key of C major, Google it. And then before you learn the tab, okay, forget the tab, forget the guitar even. See if you can change what you hear in the voice, in the vocal part, into these numbers. And so you can go, this old man, 535, 535, 654, 3234, 345, 111, 1245, 522, 422. I don't know if you guys have that in your head. Yeah, this old man. Yeah. So, yeah, does that answer your question a little bit? And then with rhythm, it's the idea of like long notes and short notes. But scales, modes, you know, what are some popular scales and modes? And I'll just give you guys a few just so you can read with something really fun to just run away with. Almost all rock music is one of these. 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is known as mixolydian. This is known as Dorian. And you have the song Give Up the Ghost is Dorian. Body Snatchers is mostly mixolydian. You know, Follow Me Around is a mix of mixolydian and Dorian.
You don't think of the modes though as just you know, we're playing the same scale we normally play, but the bass player's decided to thump out a different note. I mean,
what do you mean?
I know. I suppose. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to think of those as completely different scales, or does it make sense to think of that as, for example, D? If your D Dorian, does it would it help to think of that as you're still playing a C major scale, but over the top of the D?
So your question is, how should you look at a mode as its own scale or as a mode of another scale?
Yeah.
The question is both. You should see it as both. The answer is both because as a mode of C, it makes a lot of sense why it exists. But as its own scale, you understand that the first note is the main note. It's the home note. It's the one that gives the other notes perspective.
Yeah.
And so you should see it both ways.
Yeah.
Is that the same as a root?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a root of a chord can be, there are many different chords within one scale. So the note that they say is the home note is typically called the tonic. It's the one. The one is the do, is the tonic of the song, it feels like home. When you finish a song on that note, it feels pretty nice. If you don't finish a song on that note, it sounds like sometimes it's not done. You know? So, great question. Any other questions? Yeah?
Well, hundreds, but another time.
Maybe another time, yeah. And over here, kind of quiet. Yeah, just taking it in. Now, so you don't play guitar yet, right? So now, what I talked about for somebody who hasn't played guitar, it's not all like this. You got to put your fingers on the strings eventually, you know?
I used to play a little bit. So yeah.
Cool, yeah. So before you get overwhelmed and think, well, I don't understand all what he's talking about. I understand maybe 1% of it. That doesn't matter. Play the 1%. You know? Cool. That means something very different in America. The 1%, 99%, something very different. But it's not a seminar on politics. So anyway, it has been like a real gift, I think, to just to go into some of you guys. You're really curious, and this is like cool. This is very cool for me, just to get this very hungry kind of atmosphere. I like it.
I hope you do it again, Warren. It's great to see you over
So what I'm hoping
in real life, flesh. I didn't think you were real.
I have 3 dimensions, you know. But what I'm hoping to do is to do a website that focuses specifically on this stuff.
That'd be great.
And I want to run it by donations only. And one day, I think if it takes off, devote a lot of time to it, because I love giving private lessons, but I feel like not everybody can afford private lessons, not everybody has the time. Why not make it this kind of online video course?
Does nobody here
can
does
access
the Skype lessons? No.
Nobody here does, not with me.
Because I've always been intrigued by it. I don't know how the interaction works.
I mean, you can chat with some of the students and see,
yeah.
or
Well,
you can give it a try.
give it a try,
Yeah, and because of the way I approach music, you can see that the guitar is the last thing we actually touch. I mean, it was just to demonstrate, right? But the real work is here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with Google Docs, we're both looking at a theory worksheet at the same time.
Right.
And then I'm taking you through each concept. One day we'll talk about the major scale, and all we'll do is do songs in the major scale, and just do melodies. And so for one whole lesson, it'll just be concentrating on that concept and seeing if you understand it. You know. So for the Skype lessons, yeah, that's kind of what it's like. We take one chunk at a time of this kind of foundational thing.
Okay.
And after a while, you start to get these songs that you can sort of try to attack yourself. I'll give you maybe 90%, and you have 10% that is completely something that I won't work out for you. When you try to ask me a question about it, I won't give you any answers. And then you just work out that 10%. And then the next song I'll give you, which would be a different song, gives you kind of different contextual things with the song, with the music theory concepts. I'll give you 80%, and you'll do maybe 20%. Eventually, ideally speaking, every student of mine, I would love it if they were no longer dependent on me, and that I could just maybe give them 1%. We could do everything. And so the idea there is sort of like, can I get a student that is so hungry to keep exploring and exploring until when they graduate and then become self-sufficient? I have some students who have done that, and it's really, really amazing to see, because the musician they become is different from the musician I would tell them to be, because my experiences and my choices musically and the preferences that I have and the songs that I pick to learn are all different. And it's really, really cool thing to see. I have a student that was on American Idol, but America's Got Talent, but he got cut one round before the TV. Yeah, there were a couple rounds. And it was cool to see. But, yeah. So Skype lessons, very possible these days. Cool. I think we'll call it a night at that, And thank you so much again, Mark, for opening up your home. This is
great.
I know this is probably pretty weird. It's like, what's going to happen tonight? What's going on? But you're totally open to it. Cool. And I guess hopefully you got some good footage over there, Elliot. Thanks for helping me out with that. You're like the best assistant I could have asked for. Super cool. Thank you, Elliot.
So you're gonna put
maybe. I don't know. If you guys are not comfortable with
I won't try to put you in the spot.
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Sign on release form.
if it looks
You're
good.
gonna have to download it now.
Yeah, that's fine. Is it on a flash card or SD card or something?
Yeah, but I can just...
Perfect. I have an SD card slot.
Have you?
Wonderful.
It's just because it'd be great to see that again. Right?
Yeah. Now, anybody wants to take pictures of this stuff?
Listen,
Go ahead.
You can hang around for another 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if you want to have a little jam or something.
Yeah.
You should have a jam. Listen to some ball guitars.
All guitars, yeah.
Just a quick one.
Actually, I bought my guitar, so
Oh, yeah, but you don't want to play. Okay, that's fine.
I'll break it.
Yeah, go ahead and take some pictures.
Wow.
Tim's on going on the train, so. What is it? That's India with
I'm playing the stuff I'm playing the stuff that they have enormous sustain, these still.
Guitar has a lot of sustain,
Yeah.
a lot of resonance, and it's just the most responsive guitar that I've picked up in a while. Many guitars like that. It's not.
This is made by these guys in Australia. So this is handmade?
Mostly. Like this was not handmade.
Right, yeah.
This is most original stuff. It's definitely
Right.
a lot of different stuff. I'll try.
I won't say no.
It's like a bit, is it like a, kind of like a, I've had it before. Good export from England. That's some long fingers, man. I don't do any of those chords.
It's got very long fingers, yeah.
I like the jazz, I like jazz guitar, and again the chords easier than be easier than the piano.
Yeah.
The narrow the ones where the intervals are quite close together. Yeah.
You ever listen to this guy on YouTube, Ella Dasher?
No.
He demos a lot of jazz pickups for Telecaster guitars. So it's Tele Dasher. Incredible jazz stuff. He does these arrangements that some of them he arranges himself, some of them he does from other people like Titanium. He does these things. You will love the way his nuance and his subtlety. It's like mind blowing. I just watch it in his timing. It's everything impeccable. Tell him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot his name right now, but he's incredible channel.
So much sustain.
Yeah.
Good forever. That's whereas with those ones you don't get.
Which is good for a different application.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, maybe before people leave, we take a picture together or something.
Yeah, we'll just have to free up some.
Yeah, I need to download these
Space.
first.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Do you want me to download them on yours?
Yeah, that would be great. Play us something, Tim. That's great.
I'm not sure I got this chord right. I can't actually remember.
Yeah,
This one.